The thing I tend to find is when things are repeated over and over again, your subconscious kind of just puts them over here and wants to focus on something that's actually changing. But when the bass is constantly doing something a little different, it kind of keeps the bass in the forefront. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Low End University. Obstacle 1 is from Interpol's debut album, Turn on the Bright Lights, released in 2002. It was the second single from the album, and Pitchfork magazine praised the song and compared it to the music of Joy Division, who I actually have coming up in the very next episode here on the channel. And on that same note, when I hop over to the Wikipedia page for their bassist Carlos D, it states one of his influences is the Joy Division / New Order bassist Peter Hook. Like Hook, he also wears his bass guitar very low, often near knee level, and uses a pick to pluck the strings. So that's some cool context to kind of have going into this. Interpol is a band name I've read before. I've heard the name, and I honestly thought they were a really, really heavy metal band. I might be getting them confused with another band that starts with an I or something, but I've never listened, and it seems like they're not heavy, a little bit more alt-rockish, kind of reading some of the bands they influenced. But without further ado, let's get into it. This is the music video for Obstacle 1 from Interpol. Is that bass way up there? Yeah, has to be. Cool. What a cool groove. Okay, wow. Definitely not heavy, as I might have thought. What a cool way to kind of come in on bass. You start off with this little melody up, very high. And reading about that Peter Hook thing, this kind of makes sense. When I reviewed New Order a while back, I was kind of mesmerized with Peter Hook's approach. He was just kind of always up here on the high frets. And I've later learned why that is, but it's cool to see a bassist who just, proudly wears that influence and is vocal about it. Wears the influences on his sleeve and, mentions it here. So again, has some context for maybe his approach and style. And when he goes down to a normal range, some of his grooves have that bit of quirkiness and irregularity to them. And what I kind of like here is that the rhythm section are kind of on their own planet. The song's set up with this really straight thing in the guitars, kind of going between F, some sort of F suspended chord maybe, down here to A minor. Go between those two chords, real straight. Vocals are kind of melodic, but you have the rhythm section over here doing this really kind of broken up, syncopated thing. I hear him putting a lot of octaves in there. Kind of just going between the fifth, the root, and the octave up on that F. But I like that the drums actually kind of stop playing for a moment. It kind of adds in some of those little breaks that lose the time. Very interesting orchestration. Let me go back to here and kind of listen to that. Pretty cool. Yeah, that slide up. We're always used to hearing bassists go. Not going up, so it's got a kind of a cool touch, a cool little ornamental thing, especially when you put it in that little bit of silence. I like that. Oh, she's back. Yeah, bass slung low, playing with a pick. It's visible too. That's really neat to me. Uh-oh. Right there. Here are the drums just kind of completely abandon the groove. to lock in and catch those bass hits. The drums and bass are really just kind of uniform here rhythmically. Listen to that. Those little breaks make for a really kind of interesting pacing. And what's cool is that the guitars have not strayed from that rhythm the entire song yet. We're a minute and 30 in. They have stayed up here on this. And that's kind of what's keeping the time in the song, because the bass has never really joined in on that straight rhythm. It's done something completely independent, and the drums have kind of followed along. So I always wonder how those things kind of are conceived in the studio. Is it the bass groove and the drummer says, I'm just going to follow that. I like the feel. I like the pacing it adds to the song. Or was that the drum groove and Carlos is just putting really cool kind of irregular accents and grooves with it? Really interesting rhythm section interplay here. So I'm trying to watch the video as well. Some water spilt. Something about a woman back there. I don't know if that was power lines on the ground in the very intro. Sometimes I lose the concept trying to get into the music. Let's keep it going. Yeah, right there. He didn't do that any other times. It has kind of an irregular pattern. That slide again. Oh, she's bad. It's different now that I'm poor and aging. I'll never see this place again. That's a cool little, just a little kind of breather before it goes back into this next verse. And I'm trying to listen to the vocals. I'm not sure who they remind me of, but it has a really interesting filter on it. I like the effect on it. Kind of gives this, this just sort of ethereal, dreamy kind of quality to the music. And in a way, it almost sounds like it's meant to be a little more in the background, because you have this rhythm section thing happening that's really kind of a lead figure. Those grooves latch on to really nothing about the vocals or guitars. It's really creative, and I think what happens when Carlos, the bassist here, has that irregularity in his patterns, the thing I tend to find is when things are repeated over and over again, your subconscious kind of just puts them over here and wants to focus on something that's actually changing. But when the bass is constantly doing something a little different, it kind of keeps the bass in the forefront. So that's kind of a cool lesson if you want your bass parts to just poke through and remind the listener they're here, or just give a different dimension to verse 2 versus verse 1. You can do things like that and have those little regularities that pop out, and a listener doesn't kind of drown it out, because it's hard to ignore. And I know I'm listening for the bass parts because this is Low End University. It's a bass channel, but I think if I were just hearing the song, it would stick out just anyway, because the guitars have been kind of the ostinato thing here, just very little variation outside of the song sections. I just really like the orchestration. Haven't heard something quite like this in a while. Keep it going. Gotta use a pick. I forgot. Whoa. Okay, that drum groove there might not sound like anything crazy, but I just think it's a really brave thing to put into the song there. And it's kind of on brand with what's been going on. Almost those little pitter-patter drum grooves, that syncopation that we've been hearing. Kind of is like, this is where the drums climax, if you will. But it changes the feel of the song. It's almost like it's too much, but I think it's it just plays into what I was saying earlier. The rhythm section is kind of the play on this song here. Because, you just have this repeating chorus. They've added a few different chords here, F, A. They've added the E in there, which wasn't there earlier. Back up to C. And then you just come right out of that with this kind of drum thing. With no bass. Interesting. You have this guitar figure coming in now. Heard a B flat in there. Adding some new chords here at the end. Hold on a second. Did he go down to a low D? Might be in drop D now. Haven't thought about this whole time, what tuning he might be in. No, I definitely heard a low D there, making sure I'm not crazy. Just like 3 notes. I knew it was there, okay. Just gives me some context. That guitar is just getting slowly more intense. It's almost like swelling in volume. Might not have changed volume, but it's just becoming more prominent. That little dreamy kind of lead figure going on there. Good texture. That was a pretty neat song, pretty neat band. Again, not what I expected based on a preconceived notion I mentioned earlier, but trying to get my head around what happened at the end of the video. It looks like she fell down and it's wet with power lines and it showed the wall socket. I'm assuming that implies she got electrocuted. Didn't really catch many of the lyrics, of course, so not sure what the story's about there, but musically, that's one of the more unique rhythm section approaches I've heard kind of in a while. There's lots of bands that don't remotely sound like Interpol that kind of do that thing where the bass and the drums are just kind of on their own wavelength. Really has nothing to do with the rest of the band, but that contrast is kind of what gives the band the depth of their sound. And I did not mention this in the intro. It was down here at the bottom of my notes, but it's from Carlos D's Wikipedia page. It says 3 months after Dingler left Interpol, the band revealed that he actually disliked playing bass guitar. Which is kind of sad to hear that, because he looked cool, looked like he really had his own style going. The parts were really inventive and imaginative and pretty brave. And I think when I think back to the chord progressions, the guitar parts, they were really static and basic and just kind of allowed the vocals to kind of, ride them on top. And I like that you had this whole other dimension with the rhythm section. That's really what stole the show for the song. So kind of ashamed to read that because the bass parts were really cool. But that's been my introduction to Interpol. I know a lot of you have requested songs from this album. I saw Obstacle 1 the most. And it's a band I think I could get my head around. I'm not sure how many albums he stayed for, but I'd love to come back, as I always say. It's great getting into bands more. But thanks, you guys, for hanging out with me today. If you'd like to support the channel further, come find us on Patreon. I do full album reactions, have lots of bass lessons, music theory lessons, and other resources. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. I love you all. We'll see you next time.